now, folks. I think we're just about live. I think we're live right now. Again, let me know how the audio levels are doing and everything's going good. We've got an awesome guest. I'm super excited about the guest today. One of my, well, actually, bar none, my most favorite Airshow performer. And you guys know I don't really deal with absolutes, but this is Matt is definitely my most favorite Airshow performer by far. Okay, so just waiting to make sure the levels are good and everything's going good. Everybody is piling into the live, and yeah, so everything is looking good. Levels are good. Dennis is saying hello. Hi, Mikey. Sounds good. John Moss is good. 10 by 10 by Gavin. Okay, so folks, today, let's just jump right into it. Our special guest today is Matt Younkin from Younkin Airshows, and I want to show you guys a quick video if you haven't heard of him. I'm sure everyone has, but I'm going to play you guys a quick video to get everything started. Watch this. Okay, guys, hopefully you like that video. That is some crazy stuff. So let's bring in Matt right now. Right here, let me just do a couple clicks. Matt, welcome. Thanks for coming by.
Oh, thank you, Mikey. This is going to be fun.
So where in the world are you right now?
I'm in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. I'm sitting in my truck out on the ramp at the airport because there was a lot of activity going on at the house. My son's napping, my wife's working, and my daughter was practicing the piano. So driving over here to the airport seemed like a better idea for getting this interview done.
Oh, geez, well, thank you. So how's things going? You're in Arkansas. What's it like out in the wild today?
Well, we're doing the social distancing stuff that everybody else is doing, and I'm fortunate to be in the Midwest, in the rural areas where we actually have a backyard to go out and play in, and a block to walk around with our kids and our dogs and all that, instead of being cooped up in some apartment in the cities like some of the other people are having to deal with. And anyway, we're very blessed to be able to uh, stay away from folks, but not stay cooped up.
Oh yeah. Oh, so I don't even know where to start, man. So I just showed the video of you with the Twin Beech. Now, you guys in the States call it Twin Beech. Here in Canada, it's most likely it's a Beech 18. It's the same aircraft, though, isn't that correct?
Same, yeah. C-45, Expediter, Bug Smasher, lots and lots of names for it, but it's the same thing.
So you've been doing that air show with the Beech, or the sorry, I'm gonna mess that up a bit. So the Twin Beech for since about 2007, is that correct?
That's correct.
So how many air shows have you done?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I don't know. You're going to make me do math here. I've done between 15 and 25 a year since 2006. So I'll let your viewers figure that out.
Oh, that's awesome. So, where did the idea come from? So, I guess if a lot of people are familiar with air shows, there's air show aircraft, and like a pit special, or even like World War II aircraft, fighter aircraft. What caused you to use a Twin Beech as your main air show performer?
Well, honestly, I can't take credit for it. My dad was an air show performer for many years before I started in the business, and when he passed away in 2005, I kind of picked up the reins and kept the family business going. And the Twin Beech was the airplane that really put him on the map and established him as one of the top tier performers. And the Twin Beech has been very sentimental to our family since long before I was in our family. My dad took my mom to the airport on their first date to watch the Twin Beech mail plane start up and take off into the evening. And shortly after they got married, he moved her to Rapid City, South Dakota, and went to work for a company that was running mail in those airplanes. And then they moved to Malden, Missouri, and then back to Arkansas. And he bought one of his own and hauled cargo in it till I was a teenager. And he said that, you know, back in those days, duty time was a thing, but they didn't really enforce it. So if you could stay up for days on end, you could make a lot of money hauling freight back and forth. And he said that you would get these ideas that, you'd go to sleep and wake up the next morning and go, what the heck was I thinking? And one of those ideas that still seemed like a good idea the next morning after he'd been awake for 3 days straight was doing an aerobatic routine in a Twin Beech. And my great uncle Bob actually taught multi-engine transition training in Twin Beeches or Beech 18s in the Navy during World War II. And he was very familiar with the flight characteristics of the airplanes and how the early ones fly so much better than the later ones do for doing the kind of maneuvers that I do with this one. And he and my grandpa bought just the right airplane that my dad ended up buying from them and modifying to make it airshow worthy. And the rest is history.
Oh my lordy! So I also want to share one quick story from myself. So if you guys have been watching Icebox, I think it was season 2. We went to Oshkosh, 2010. I think it was the 70th anniversary of DC3 or whatever reason we were there. I can't remember. But I do remember my father and I were walking. There was Airshow Square, and we were just walking into the Warbirds section, and I remember hearing a radial engine like shut off, like it was like a rev and then a shut off. And my father snapped around. We looked and we saw your Beech 18, your Twin Beech, into a roll. And it was the sound was the engine moving away from us. And my father stopped dead in his tracks and he looked up and we were watching. And Oshkosh, you're there, you're so inundated. There's every airplane in the world, and your show just stopped as dead in our tracks. And I remember my father saying, "Well, that airplane is definitely fuel injected." And so we watched the thing, and then my father just beelined it for you, and he hopped the fence. And I don't know if he got to see you or anything, or he ran into Jeff or somebody. But I remember him coming back, and his first words were, "It's carbureted." And I'm like,
That's true.
so that's one thing I've been seeing in the comments here. Um, is there any modifications to the Twin Beech for aerobatics?
No, there's really not. We took everything out of it that it didn't need to do the job that it does. So it's very lightweight for Twin Beech. There's no insulation at all in the airplane, so not only is it very noisy during the aerobatic routine, but it's also very cold traveling cross country, because we got to go up to 8 or 10,000 feet, and after an hour in that thing, especially if you're in the back of it, you're going to want to put your jacket on and maybe even don a blanket. So anyway, it's got the same spar strap that all of the other Twin Beeches that are currently flying have. That's an FAA requirement. And it's, other than that, it's bone stock the way it left the factory.
Wow, it's like the whole, like, if people understand about carburation and fuel injection, what laws of physics keep those engines running when you're upside down?
Well, it's a positive G Airshow, so you never leave your seat. There's no floating. There's no hanging by your seat belts. It's all about establishing a parabolic arc when you do a roll or a point roll or something along those lines. And the loops and the cubonates are the same way. It's the entire show is positive G. That's why when I enter a maneuver, I start at ground level, and the top of the maneuver is 600 or 800 feet, and it comes back down to ground level to finish.
How do you design? How do you design? I remember asking you, one of the first things I asked you when I met you in Hamilton was, are you winging it? Like, are you just out there having fun, or is this like a controlled thing? And you said it was very controlled. So, can you walk us through how each maneuver walks into the next one?
Well, it's all about energy management. So each maneuver takes energy to happen, but you build energy or come out of that maneuver with the same amount of energy that you established going into it. That's the theory. And the idea is to do a vertical maneuver followed by a horizontal maneuver. So, do a cubanate, follow that by a point roll, and then do a loop and follow that by another point roll. And Dad always said, take off, do what you're good at once, and land. So the Twin Beech only does 4 or 5 things really good. So I take off, I do those things, and I land. And that's the way you build an entertaining sequence. But the other side of it is the music, and it has got to match the choreography and the announcing. Not only do you want to make sure that your sponsors get out there for the public to hear, that's very important, but the people are very interested in the history of the airplane and the guy that's doing the flying. And so if you present the announcer with those things to where they can mix and match all of the facts as you're flying the airplane, it's a package deal, and that's how the air show industry really works.
So that's interesting. So I don't think there'd be too many people here that would fully understand um, how the air shows work. Like, how do you book air shows? How does the sponsorship work? And how do you make that a sustainable business?
Well, it's like any business. It has its challenges, but it's also very rewarding. It's a privilege to be able to present a 77-year-old airplane to the general public and show them that airplane is capable of doing things that they never dreamed of. But we do have a lot of sponsors that help us take care of that airplane. I mean, I'm wearing a Tulsa Aircraft Engines hat. I wear it not just for your show, but every day, no matter what we're doing. Same. They take very, very good care of our engines. And anyway, we have Hardy Aviation Insurance as a sponsor, and Fagan Incorporated as a sponsor, and the list goes on and on. But we need these sponsors to make the business sustainable and to take care of this airplane. And our maintenance practices are second to none, and our sponsors help us with that.
Oh, then that's pretty interesting. How I'm getting a little bit of feedback from my voice here. Let me see if I can fix that. But okay, cool. So there we go. Okay, so yeah, man, it's just so mind-boggling. So, at what point do you go? You know, I've been doing these air shows with the Twin Beech. Let's try it at night. Like, I don't know if most people don't know this, but I'm gonna throw a picture on right here. You do the full thing at night. Like,
Well, well, that's true. Jeff Gibbs, my crew chief, that's been with me since the beginning. He and I were sitting around the hangar one afternoon and looking at this thing. And I told him, you know what? If all the lights this airplane left the factory with, if they all just worked, we'd be halfway to doing a night show. And he agreed with me. And then we started brainstorming and scheming about how it would work and how it would look and what we would do with it. And the next thing you know, Wheeland Engineering got on board and they sent us a box of toys to play with. I mean, all kinds of lights, and try this and see if it works. If it does, keep it. If it doesn't, send it back to us. And next thing you know, we were well on our way to doing a night show with the Twin Beech. And it's an incredible platform because it has as big as it is, you can mount an awful lot of lights on it. And the top of the airplane we set up as a plan form where you can basically see the entire shape of it, and the bottom the twinkles. So there's a definite contrast between the top and bottom, so you can see what's going on at night the maneuver. But it's also a safety thing because I don't have to look at the stuff that's twinkling and going back and forth because it's underneath me. So we did that and paired it with a powerful soundtrack that only the Twin Beech can pull off. And again, the rest is history.
well, it's just absolutely amazing. And I remember not last year, the year before at Oshkosh. My girlfriend Stella and I were sitting there waiting for this night show. It was my main reason to go to Oshkosh was to see the night show, and it was canceled due to the rain. And then
Oh, shoot.
you took off, and then that B1 took off and blew everybody away. But yeah, so I had to go back last year to see it, and I got to see the night show twice. Just absolutely amazing. And the only downside I say to the night show is that it's almost hidden. The most amazing stuff you're doing is hidden. And you have to use the lights and everything like that to show what's going on. And it's just mind-bogglingly, just oh my god, it's just absolutely amazing. Is there much difference between the day and night?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of difference. The horizon basically goes away. So you use street lights and runway lights and that sort of thing to build a horizon that you can reference the maneuvers off of. When it's a nice starry night and the moon's out, that helps quite a bit. But if it's overcast, you depend on the ground lighting to make it work. And there are times I've actually had to use the instruments in the airplane to orient myself to set up for the next maneuver. So the good news is, though, the night show environment, because the minimums for having a night show are 2,500 feet and 5 miles visibility. The weather is either absolutely perfect or so bad they cancel the show. It's very rarely ever in between.
Oh my lord! It's just mind-boggling how the whole thing works. It's what's the one thing we were talking a little bit before here is that your father has an aircraft that is related to my last show when I was talking to Raymond, and because you're from Arkansas, I know that I thought Mena, Arkansas was a huge place when I was a kid because that's where we sent airplanes for painting, and I always heard of it. And it
Right.
wasn't until I watched American Made where I realized it was a small town. So I asked you about that because I know you're from Arkansas, but you have a connection to that whole story too. What's that connection?
Well, my dad's Learjet that his Lear 23 that he did air shows in, and you can see that on YouTube. Just type in Bobby Younkin Learjet aerobatics and it'll pull it up. But in a former life, before Dad started turning that airplane upside down. That was Barry Seal's personal transport. So I don't know that that airplane in particular hauled dope back and forth from down there to up here, but I'm sure that it oversaw the operation and the fleet of airplanes that he had doing such things.
Oh, that's absolutely, that's amazing. So Matt, you're kind of buffering a bit here. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to try calling you back, and we'll start the call here fresh. I'll be calling you
Okay.
live, just so we can kind of reset here. But here, let me just hang up and try calling you right back.
Okay, sound.
Okay, folks, let's try calling Matt back and see if we can get that video in better shape. Do. Okay, I think we're.
All right.
Oh,
How
yeah,
about now?
yeah. You're clear. You're good.
Good deal.
Perfect. See, that's fixing on the fly. Speaking of fixing on the fly, what kind of in the air show season? What kind of maintenance? You got 2 radials. You're a tail dragger. What's a common maintenance thing that you run into?
Well, we bring every spare part, everything but the kitchen sink with us to an air show because we have a cargo airplane like you're very much familiar with. So we bring a spare cylinder, carburetor, mag, and the tail wheel. The list goes on and on and on. And tools to fix the airplane if it should ever become litters and buckets and seats and seat belts to put in the floor for when we're hauling jumpers. And we're a very self-sufficient, self-sustaining operation. But typically, because we do all the maintenance at home, we never have to fix the airplane on the road. And so every time the airplane comes home Monday morning, Jeff and his assistant Tyler pull the cowlings off of the airplane and inspect it firewall forward, and they'll walk around the rest of the airplane with a flashlight and a mirror and just make sure that everything's in tip-top shape for the next weekend and address any squawks that I developed over the last weekend of flying it at an air show. So the airplane gets looked at an awful lot, and that saves us a lot of headache on the road.
So there's a question in the comments here. Do you go to air shows with a second plane that carries spare parts? And I guess the answer is you got a cargo airplane, so you bring your own spare parts.
That's true. If we have an issue where we need something that's on the shelf at home, I've got means of getting that. I've got another airplane in the hangar that somebody can jump in and bring it to me, or they can get in the truck and bring it down. I actually I landed at a show in Louisiana, and for whatever reason, I popped a cylinder on both engines at the same time. I landed, and as I was taxiing in, I realized that both engines had an issue, and we only brought one spare cylinder with us. So Tyler had to drive all night to bring us a second cylinder that we had on the shelf, and we stayed up late and changed a cylinder on both engines and made the gate for the show the next day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Go figure.
Yeah, a double cylinder change. Yeah, you're looking at what, 18, 19 hours. Like that's a lot of work. Oh my lordy. So I getting some questions in the comments about. Can you just run down a quick history of your Beech 18 or your Twin Beech of?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my airplane was AT-7 Navigator or navigation trainer during World War II. It was based at Ellington Army Airfield during the war from 43 to 45. And after that, it became a flight check airplane for the Civil Aeronautics Administration, which later became the Federal Aviation Administration. So I actually have a picture of that airplane. I believe it's on my website, that was taken in 1956 when in San Francisco, when the airplane was in FAA colors. And anyway, it went from there to a drop zone. It dropped jumpers for several years, and then it went to a maintenance school where they taught people how to work on airplanes, and it ended up in a boneyard in Atlanta. And in 2002, I believe it was, my dad partnered up with a friend of his and purchased this airplane and got it out of the boneyard and started the restoration process on it. And so we, the restoration, I would say, is continuing, but it's really just a maintenance upkeep at this point. But the airplane gets better every year. Every winter we fix something that didn't need to be fixed, but is better than it was the year before. So we're very blessed to have it.
Was it always so? I'm going to show a picture of the nose art. So the nose art on it is elephant, um, a pin-up elephant on the moon with stars, magic wand, and pulling Twin Beech out of a hat. Amazing.
So the I obviously don't have a World War II paint scheme on the airplane, but everything else about the act is, very much World War II-esque. And from the logos that we have on everything to the nose art, I wanted it to be very much vintage. And I put the nose art on the airplane at the same time we developed the night show, and it's my design, but R.T. Foster, who was a very gifted nose art creator, actually brushed the nose art on the airplane. And the premise behind it is to tie the day and the night show together, because the day show starts with the pink elephant music and it ends with the pink elephant music, but the night show is much more serious, in your face, and kind of creepy. And the nose art, the elephant with the bikini on and the magic hat and all that, just kind of ties the two together. And I really think that it gives the airplane some personality.
Oh, huge, huge. So that's the one question I was going to ask. So the Magic by Moonlight name came because of the night show.
That's correct.
That makes so much sense, because I was like, well, geez, that's very convenient if it it didn't. Oh man. So, you mentioned Jeff, and I know Jeff's a character within himself.
He
How,
certainly is.
so if you're in the airshow world, you've probably seen Jeff going around. I know sometimes he has the big mustache, probably not right now, or maybe. Um,
No,
how's he? What?
he's got a beard right now that has squirrels and other animals hiding in it. I mean, I'm here to tell you, it's serious.
So, there's a lot of mechanics, that watch this show. Can you just touch on all the stuff of having Jeff around? Like you said, Jeff was there since the beginning. What's it like to have a mechanic around that knows the aircraft as well as working on it for the last almost 15 years?
It's incredible. I can't even begin to tell you how much it brings the stress level down. He is, he's one of my best friends. He's a very gifted mechanic and a very spiritual person. Jeff is just incredible in every way, shape, or form, and he knows that airplane like he knows the Bible, and that's really saying something for Jeff. So anyway, I can't imagine ever doing this without Jeff. We're kind of a package deal, and I love it that way.
Oh, it's amazing. And I said 15 years, but I got the math wrong. It's almost 23 years, I guess, since 2007.
Well, no,
No,
probably not.
13 years. No, yeah, 13. Oh, what am I doing here? See how it's too long out of school. I got a homeschool here, so it's 13 years.
See, that's why I asked you to have your viewers do the math on how many air shows that I did, so I wouldn't make mistakes like this.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my lordy. Um, yeah, no, oh, man, I can't amazing. So, let me know in the chat if you guys have seen Matt's routine. It is definitely amazing. I was trying to think the other day how many times I've seen it, and I've probably seen it 4, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, probably about 13 times. And still, like Oshkosh, if people haven't been to Oshkosh, it's just so much stuff, like B-29s, B-17s, that Ford Tri-Motor. You kind of get airplane numb, but every time your show comes on, and like I said at the beginning, it's like I kind of sit on the fence a bit on a lot of things, and I never really deal with absolutes, but you are by far my most favorite air show performer, and it's just the simplistic of what you do. And so,
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say, because I know in your line of work you see all facets of aviation, and that really means a lot. So
and
thank you again.
I think it was June 14th, 2013. You actually took me for a flight. I'm going to show some pictures here. Uh, and the smoking in the, like, this, not smoking cigarettes, but the smoke in the cockpit. And you took us out. We're over Hamilton, Ontario, doing some steep turns. This was absolutely, absolutely amazing. Um, So one
Yeah, that was a fun ride.
one question I'm getting here is have you did any shows outside of North America? That is one thing a lot of people are asking in the comments.
So I've never crossed the pond, but we've headed south quite a bit. I've done a show in El Salvador twice. Uh, did a show in Panama. I've done the Dominican Republic and in Jamaica.
Oh,
And of course, we've done several shows in Canada over the years. But Panama is as far south as we've ever been, and we've been coast to coast for years.
oh, you're breaking up a bit there. I think we might have to do another restart. But
You still with me?
yeah, I'm still with you. You said Panama, Panama, Jamaica. Wow, it's Jamaica. There's air
Can you
shows
hear
in
me?
Jamaica. Oh, here let's do another reset here, and let's make sure everything goes good here. So, folks, let's do another reset. Thank you guys for, thank you guys for holding in on there. Always a lot of technical difficulties when you do stuff live, but let's see if we can get a better thing. Matt's out in the field. So here, let's get going. So let's see here. Okay. Oh, hello, Matt. Let's try it one more time, folks. His phone might have died, but let's just check this out. Try to do another call. Sorry about the technical stuff. Hope you guys enjoying your day and everything that's going on right now. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the news, and that's why I wanted to make sure that we can do all this fun stuff with you guys and share just a special time. Like there's 500 people watching right now. Yeah, all 500 people. So we might have lost Matt. Can we get him back? Let's see. Uh-oh, I can't get a hold of Matt here, folks. So let's just, I'll try to get a hold of him a bit here. Let me play a video. Here, let me try a video, guys, so you can guys see what Matt does here at night. So this is, I'll play the night video here. This is quite amazing. Check this out. Oh, Matt, I think we can hear you.
Hey, I see you now.
All right. Cool. I was just showing a video of your night trip.
Okay, good deal. I don't know why we're having so many connection problems. I'm sitting in my truck out on the ramp because I didn't want to risk going in the hangar and having these issues. So,
Oh, can you check?
not sure what else I can do.
Oh, are you on Wi-Fi right now, or your cell signal?
Cell signal.
Well, it should be pretty good. Yeah, there we go. So let's go back and go through that list of places you performed outside of Canada and the States.
Well, I've been as far south as Panama, and I've done the show in El Salvador twice, and I've flown in Jamaica and also in the Dominican Republic, but I've never crossed the pond going either direction. So we typically fly coast to coast. I've got shows this year, assuming they're still going to happen, in New Jersey and all the way out to Nevada this time around. So we've been there and done that just pretty well all over the place.
Now, so that's kind of a bummer issue, but how many shows have you seen canceled so far?
Well, I personally have lost 6 that I know of. I know that there have been about 30 shows system-wide that have canceled so far. And I'm certainly hoping that all of this turns back around so we can get back out there and do what we love.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Wasn't there a time, not to get too political in a bit, but the last time, wasn't there an issue a few years ago about air shows having a problem with the military not being a part of it? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, it was called sequestration, and it's hard not to get political about it, but I'll try not to. Basically, there was a government shutdown looming because the players in Congress couldn't get together and the president wasn't going to help at all. And anyway, part of the initial steps of that government shutdown was the sequestration, where the military basically lost all of their funding for open houses and the demo teams that they used to bolster recruitment across the United States and Canada for air shows. And anyway, a lot of the shows depend on having a military headliner to draw the crowd that they need to make their sponsors and make.
Did we lose him?
On the show. Can you still hear me?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Can you still hear me?
I can see. Yeah, it's clear now. Oh, my God. It's like HD now.
Huh. Oh, shoot. Well, I didn't get any better looking while we had the issues. So I don't know how much you heard about the sequestration stuff I was talking about. Do I need to recap that?
Just the last sentence.
Well, basically, the air shows, a lot of the air shows depend on the military demo teams, whether it's the Blues or the Thunderbirds or the Snowbirds or just a single ship demo, to bring in the crowds that it takes to make the event successful. And so when the government pulled the plug on the funding that it took to keep these demo teams going, and also the open houses that the Air Force was offering, it really hurt the air show industry severely. But we bounced back. We made it work. We kept the doors open, and I'm sure we're going to bounce back from this too. It's just going to take some time.
Now that the insurance was an issue too, I know sometimes like that. What's your thoughts on the aviation insurance? Is what's going to happen here with all these planes not flying? Do you have any insight on that?
Well, I'm sure the rates are going to go up. I know that when the 737 MAX issue became an issue, that caused the rates to jump. Unfortunately, the aviation insurance has kind of been on the backside of the curve, if you will, for rates to go up. So homeowners and car auto insurance has gone up steadily through the years, but insurance for airplanes really hasn't. And now we're catching up. And that's unfortunate, but it's just a reality of doing business. We had several years where it was affordable, and now it's becoming less affordable, but that's just part of it.
So getting to more happier times, I'm reading your bio on your website. So everybody, you can check out Younkin Airshows on website here and get all the information. The one thing that I've been hearing, and I haven't known much about it, it says you're a very accomplished RC pilot.
Well, that's true. I I don't know. I don't like to toot my own horn, but I do enjoy flying RC models. And what's interesting about that is the stick and rudder inputs on an RC transmitter are the same as a full-scale airplane. So when you move the stick and rudder a certain direction, the little airplane does the same thing that the big airplane does. So you can actually teach yourself an awful lot about flying by flying model airplanes. And it makes your flight training to get in a full-scale airplane much easier and go by much quicker. I've always said that it is a lot easier to train an RC model pilot how to fly a full-scale airplane than it is to train a full-scale airplane pilot how to fly RC, because they have this preconceived notion that they already know everything. And when you're standing on the model field watching the airplane go by, it's a lot different than sitting in it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So that's very good. So, like in my opinion, your mastery of the Twin Beech is unparalleled. So you're a stick and rudder guy. You know exactly what's going on, and for you to be an advocate for the RC is really cool, because aviation is it's got such a high barrier to get into, because of the price and everything that. So if you can, like an RC model, maybe a couple $100 for a pretty good one. Maybe they're 1,000 or something, but you could probably get one for a couple $100. Is a
Right.
low entry. So by you putting this seal of approval on RC airplanes, gives hope to aviation a bit, because it's more accessible to people. Are you involved in any programs like the museum, anything that creates more accessibility to aviation for people that may not have the ability to hang out in aviation that much?
Well, I'm on the board of directors for the Arkansas Air and Military Museum, and I encourage everybody to take a look at it if they ever pass through Fayetteville, and get on our website or our Facebook page and give us a like. We've got some very unique assets in there that we're very proud to have. My dad's Learjet's in there. We've got a travel air biplane in there, like the one Louise Thaden won a lot of her air races. She was from Bentonville, Arkansas. We've got Sam Walton's very first airplane, the founder of Walmart. His air coupe is in our museum. It's in a facility that was built during World War II for the civilian pilot training program here in Fayetteville. And we actually have the last remaining Howard DGA-18 anywhere in the world. And this particular airplane was in our facility during World War II, teaching people how to fly before they went into the service. So, yes, I'm very much an advocate for our local museum, but that's about it as far as I know.
So, but there's plane saving. Like, there's hopefully the viewers, if you guys could find that video on YouTube where you did an interview with the local news, and post it on the Facebook, the PlaneSavers Facebook group for people to watch, because it was very cool. So the hangar that the museum is in is a hangar from, like, it's not rebuilt. It is, well, it could be a little bit rebuilt, but it is a vintage hangar, correct?
It is. It's a all wooden Quonset hut style hangar that it's huge, and it was built expressly for the purpose of the civilian pilot training program during World War II, and it's the building itself is a sight to behold, and the stuff that we have in it is also it's a very, very unique collection.
Can you touch on the fact of the civilian pilot training program? Because I remember you talking about that. That is fairly interesting.
So basically, during World War II, the armed forces needed more pilots than they had the ability to train, just like they needed more airplanes than we had the ability to build. And we solved both problems by turning manufacturers of washing machines and sewing machines and auto parts into aircraft manufacturers, etc. And anybody that had a pilot's license or that was a flight instructor that was not in the military basically joined forces with others like themselves to train pilots for the war effort. So the civilian pilot training program, ours was akin with the University of Arkansas, and basically they took kids off the street that had never flown an airplane before, taught them how to fly, and gave them their wings, so that when they went into the military, they were already several steps down the road and able to get in the cockpit of an airplane that was going to go off and do God's good work for our country, for the war effort. So it saved a lot of time for the military, and it was very beneficial all the way around. And that's what our facility was built for.
Oh no, that's very cool. There's because my girlfriend Stella is German, like actually German from Germany. So I spent some time in Germany and going around their museums. Their museums are a lot different than North America because North America is basically surplus aircraft, like World War II surplus aircraft
Right.
and that kind of stuff. In Germany, they got pretty much everything. But the one thing I noticed, they had these wooden gliders, and they would literally
Yeah.
take a glider with a slingshot and shoot a farmer off atop a hill, and then if the farmer did it 3 or 4 times, he was good enough for the Luftwaffe. So that was pretty neat. So I'm always fascinated with how they took everyday people, a lot of times just farmers, and then put them into these aircraft that we can only see at Oshkosh now. So
Right.
it's absolutely amazing. So is there any plans next? What do you think? Beach 18, the night show was an evolution. You got a little sly look in your face. Is there?
Well, everybody's got dreams, and I've had some interesting ideas for what to do next, but we'll see. The Twin Beech is kind of everybody seems to like it. I think it's become a staple in the air show industry, and it's a sustainable airplane. We can still find parts for it, the ones we don't have to make, and it seems to work, and I'm just going to go with it for a while. So anyway, I'm not sure. I have ideas of what you would do next if you were going to up the ante from a Twin Beech, but I'm going to keep them near and dear for the time being.
DC-3?
Well, I know somebody that has looped and rolled a DC-3. I've heard that it's possible, but I don't know that I would really want to attempt that myself.
Oh, that's it. I heard. We might have a guest that would want to say hi here, but yeah, no. Like we were talking on the last live stream with Ray. Ray ditched a DC-3 in the water on one of his extracurricular runs, which just blows my mind. Like
Yeah.
how can you do that? But he did actually say that the Beech 18 was one of his most favorite airplanes to fly, and so. In your bio, I think it says you've flown 70 different types of airplanes.
Yes, actually a little bit more than that now. We need to update
Oh,
that.
eight,
But
yeah, 80. What's your favorite? Like, what's your favorite airplane of all time? I know it's a hard question,
oh
but
man, it is a hard question. I asked my dad that several times, and his answer was consistently whichever airplane he's flying at the time. And it's hard not to. It's hard to disagree with that, really. The Twin Beech is obviously one of my favorites. I've been privileged enough to fly a B-29 some, and that's an incredible airplane to fly. And I actually got to fly DC-3 a couple of years ago, and it is very high on my favorite list. That's just a wonderful flying airplane. And I remember at Oshkosh last year, I sat and talked with your dad for about an hour about flying the DC-3 and some of the other things. And anyway, it's an incredible airplane. So I have a lot of favorites. I don't want to pick one in particular. I've just been very fortunate to get to fly a lot of airplanes.
oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. So
I will tell you this though, my favorite airplane of all time, and I have not gotten to fly one yet, but I hope to someday, is a Grumman Hellcat, and that is the pinnacle for me.
holy smokes.
Hopefully we'll be able to make that happen one day or the next.
Oh yeah, is there many in the airshow circuit like going around like for display or static?
No, I think there's about half a dozen of them that are airworthy, and you see them from time to time, but not very often. And anyway, it's an incredible airplane.
That's good.
I could spend another hour talking about just the Hellcat with you, but we don't have time for that.
Radial engines, twin engine, tail dragger, like the Twin Beech is now. What's your idea? A lot of pilots these days, tricycle landing gear, 10,000, or I shouldn't say 10,000 foot strips, but long strips and all that kind of stuff. What's your advice to a pilot that might want to fly something more interesting, especially because a lot of pilots have a lot more time now? What's an aircraft to recommend to learn how to fly a tail dragger?
A Piper Cub is about as good as they get. A Champ is a great airplane to fly because it has conventional brakes and you can see out of it and sit in the front seat. Um, I learned to fly in a Cub. My dad learned to fly in a Super Decathlon. I plan on teaching my kids how to fly in one or the other because I'm fortunate enough, at least right now, to have access to both. And anyway, they're great airplanes. There's I don't really know that I need to be endorsing anything in particular. It just depends on what kind of flying that you want to do. I mean, there are purpose-built airplanes for just about everything out there, and there are clubs for those airplanes and flight schools that have a lot of them. And I would just advise anybody to get the proper training. Don't try to figure it out yourself because that can be risky.
So I got a vintage picture of you. You're very handsome, sitting in a Travel Air. Um, what is? I'm not familiar with what kind of airplane is this? Not a beach travel air, I guess. It's something completely else. What kind of airplane is this?
Well, that's a Travel Air mystery ship. So the Travel Air Corporation was founded in the early 1920s in Wichita, and the four partners in that were Walter Beech, Clyde Cessna, Lloyd Stearman, and Matty Laird, who all went off and when the Traveler Corporation disbanded, they all went off and formed their own airplane companies. And that Travel Air that I'm sitting in is a replica of the Travel Air mystery ship that won the 1929 National Air Races in Cleveland. It was the first civilian airplane to ever win the air races. All the military stuff had won in the years leading up to that. And the reason it was called the mystery ship is because they were building it in a sealed off portion of the Travel Air factory that they would not give the press access to. So the press dubbed it the mystery ship and the name stuck. And that airplane has probably done more for aviation than any airplane before or since, single-handedly. I could go on and on about the speed records that were set by Jimmy Doolittle and his, and Pancho Barnes doing the women in aviation thing in hers, and the NACA cowling and the wheel pants that a lot of the Japanese and German and Italian airplanes adopted for their fighters during World War II. I mean, the list goes on and on about what all that airplane actually did. But I was fortunate enough to get to fly that airplane for several years on the Airshow circuit, especially before I started flying the Twin Beech. It's a wonderful flying airplane.
So now we talked about the tail dragon a bit. If there's any pilots there of almost any age that want to get into the air show part of it, what would you recommend to do that? I guess there's two different versions. There's like more of a vintage version, and then there's like a store bought 1-800 aerobatic airplane. What's your thoughts on
Right.
that, and what would you recommend?
Well, I would recommend getting the proper training in an aerobatic trainer like a Super Decathlon, for example. There are flight schools, there are purpose-built or purpose type flight schools that do aerobatic training. I know Greg Kuntz has one in Alabama that's very successful. Sean Tucker has another one in California. Patty Wagstaff has one in Florida. They have everything from decathlons to Pizzas to extras to fly in. So you can learn basic, intermediate, and advanced aerobatics at a lot of these schools. And then as far as, the getting into the air show scene, it's really about, what your personality is. I'm very proud to say that I'm a fat Warbird pilot, and I like, big round engine greasy airplanes. And, I will go outside to hear a DC-3 fly over the house at 10,000 feet. But if an extra flight takes off, I probably won't look out the window because I see so many of them. But, everybody's different. Everybody has their own niche that they want to develop or that they want to get into. And for me, the vintage stuff is where my heart lies. It always has. But I wouldn't discourage anybody to go any of the other routes. Not at all.
Oh yeah, no, for everybody, it's always the airline route versus in the middle of Alaska with a beaver on floats. Like there's every little thing in the middle. Have you did much flying commercially?
I did. I've flown a corporate some. I've had a couple of different corporate flying jobs over the years, and I am entertaining the possibility of getting back into the commercial field, and making my air shows avocation rather than the vocation. And we'll see how that all plays out. But you know, everybody's got to have a plan long term, and I'm still working on mine. They say growing up is optional, but growing old isn't. So I got to prepare for the future.
So you're like Superman. You're flying around, and you got this normal person. What's your normal job?
Well, my normal job is flying air shows.
What
So
100% Superman the whole time?
well, I wouldn't call it Superman, but yeah, I have been fortunate enough to build a business that I can feed my family with,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
that's been a wonderful thing. And anyway, and I really feel like that the airplane that I fly, especially with the crew I have and the standards that we've set, is one of the safest avenues to pursue an airshow career in, and that's where it is for me.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so cool. So you don't even need the Daily Planet or anything like that. You just, yeah, full on. That is so cool.
Well, well, we'll see how that continues to progress.
Yeah, to this year.
So,
Yeah.
being a newspaper guy sounds like a pretty good job right now.
So a little bit more technical questions. So we see a lot of this smoke. So the smoke is definitely one mod to the airplane. How does that smoke system work?
Well, basically, the oil that we use is paraffin based, so it's made out of beeswax, basically, and it is environmentally friendly, believe it or not. So the way it works is the smoke oil is injected into the hot exhaust, and instead of burning, it just vaporizes it. So it's anyway, that's the way it works.
Super simple.
So we find we find the hottest part of the exhaust pipe and basically run a garden hose into it with this smoke oil, and produce all the smoke that you see on the videos or in person. What's funny about it is during my 12-minute routine, I burn 25 gallons of fuel and 35 gallons of smoke oil.
Wow. Wow. Where's the hopper tank? Where's that located?
It's the rear ox tanks that are just ahead of the flaps on the wing. We have converted those to smoke tanks, and they actually convert back and forth. I have a valve system where when we have fuel in them, it's impossible to run fuel into the exhaust, and when we have smoke oil, it's impossible to run the smoke oil into the fuel system. So anyway, that's the way it works. I can carry an hour and a half of fuel or 15 minutes worth of smoke oil.
Oh wow! So that's very cool. I didn't know that was even a thing. How is it dealing with the regulatory part of all that stuff? Is that something you want to talk about? Like how does the FAA turn into this stuff?
Well, this airplane is experimental exhibition category, so it we still abide by all of the standard practices for maintaining it. The ADs that apply to a standard category Twin Beech still apply to this one, and we take those very seriously. But because we're experimental, we can do stuff like put a smoke system in and hang ridiculous lights all over it, and as long as it flies good, we can sign that stuff off and go make money with it.
Oh my lordy, that is so good. So you said a normal year is about 20 to 30 shows. You said
20 to 25.
2025. And some of those are multiple days too, right? So you can kind of.
They are.
Yeah. Oh my lordy. So that's how
they are. We'll typically do a night show on Friday night and then do the day show on Saturday and Sunday for most events, and it's great. It's a lot of fun.
There's a lot of people in the comments, a lot of European people that are watching, even though they're staying up late, or some people in Australia that is extremely early in the morning for them. They're really hoping that you can maybe make it across the pond at some point. You have to put extra bladder tanks inside and stuff like that. To make that possible, you'd probably need a really big sponsor, right? Because you're probably looking at what, $50,000 to $60,000 in fuel to get over to say Europe.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's probably about what it would cost, you know. And I've heard PlaneSavers is looking to sponsor people like me, so we'll have to talk about that further and see if we can go from there, right?
I would, I just there's a certain large aircraft that I always thought like, is it like I guess everything is physically possible. Of your show is just nuts. And again, if anybody hasn't seen your show, it's just so it's so simplistic in a way that it's not like it's not like these extras like where they're spinning around doing everything. It looks so calm, and the video like that GoPro footage of you inside, and it's just like you're out for a Sunday stroll. It's absolutely amazing. But I want to bring in a
Well,
special guest. We'll see here. So come on, Dad, have a seat.
Am I allowed to get in this close?
Oh yeah, no, here, put on the thing
Why is that?
so you can talk to Matt here directly.
Oh.
Okay, no, dog's in the way.
Hey, how do I talk?
hey, Joe, how are you?
Oh, can you hear him?
Yeah, there's no headset with a mic boom on it here. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, great. We're a little frozen in time here, so everything's cool. We got everything froze up, so there's no problems around here. You know. So what are you doing? Are you getting ready for the shows, or are they all canceled?
Well, they all canceled. So my next show is in late May, and I'm hoping it's going to work. It's in New Jersey, so that's kind of one of the hot spots right now. So we'll see how it goes. But we're all just kind of hanging out by ourselves, like you guys are doing.
Oh yeah. No, we're doing. If it gets too hot, you can always come up here for a while and fly around with us. Yeah. No,
I may take you up on that.
Yeah, I got this picture on the wall, this 18 upside down here, red and black with all that smoke coming out, and people ask me about it, and I tell them, when I first seen the show, having known a little bit about 18s, having flown them for, since I was a kid, I was sure that 18, when I seen it perform with you, I was sure it was a special one. It had hidden jet engines in it, or it had something in it that was very, very special. So I climbed the fence and went and had a look at it, and sure enough, it's a stock 92-18. It's a stock as stock can be. And, I went and looked at there's no speed kit on it. There was no jet exhaust. There's no high incidence. There was no intakes under the cowlings. So I was, after seeing the show, I was more impressed again after I seen the airplane. Once I realized she was just a stock old 18. And, if you get cold, I was talking to Don down there at Acorn, told him I had those inserts for the exhaust from intensifiers to give you heat. So if you need to put any heat in that thing, get a hold of me. I'll send you some intensifiers.
Well, good deal. I appreciate that. And you tell Don that how much we appreciate his support and keeping our operation going. They went through our exhaust system this year and made it brand new again, and boy, we couldn't do it without them.
Oh, that's right.
So,
yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Well, I'll let you talk to Mike. I just want to say hi and hang in there, and we'll see you at the next show. Well, I don't know when our next show will be, but we had planned on coming down to Oshkosh this year with something, but we'll see what happens there.
Well, hopefully that'll still materialize. I really enjoyed our visit at Oshkosh last year, and I hope we can do that again. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I want that visit too. Yeah, that keeps me going, stuff like that. So you stay safe down there, okay?
Yes, sir. You do the same. Thank you.
Okay. Here, I'll put Mike back on here. I'm sitting in a hot seat here. I gotta get out of it. Hang on. How was that?
Oh, that was good. Oh, that was that worked better than I thought it would. All right. So
how did you enjoy your 14?
You still there, Matt? Everything's good?
Everything's still good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good. Oh, my lordy. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. I was worried. About any swearing or anything like that, but that worked out pretty well.
Well, it's always good to visit with your dad, and I'm a big fan of, well, both of you really, but especially your dad for what he has done in aviation over the decades. It's just incredible.
Yeah, no, it's in. Actually, I think did I send the picture? I found an old picture Here, I'm going to send it to the thing so I can show everybody. Because growing up, my favorite airplane was the Beech 18. And hopefully, did I save that? Oh, I didn't save it. Anyway, there's a picture of me and my father in a 1940 Ford that he's the second owner of, in front of a Beech 18 BCC he had. And
Huh.
that's it. But yeah, that's an hour. So how did
Wow.
that hour go by pretty quick?
It sure did. It sure did. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, thanks, Matt, for coming here and being with us and spend some time with a lot of people. 555 people watching at home right now. It's
Wow.
making people's day a little bit better in this tough time. So, is there anything you want to say to everybody, or anything you want to say before we go?
Well, thank you all for participating, and thank you, Mikey, for the invite. This is it's really an honor to be on your program. I know you reach an awful lot of people, and it was an honor to talk with your dad as well. But if you get a chance and you're bored at home, visit our website. It's youngkinair.com. Check out our great sponsors that we're very, very proud to have, and very privileged to have keeping our operation going. And also give us a like at Younkin Airshows on Facebook. So that's kind of where we're at. And hopefully I'll get to see all of you at a show sometime soon.
Oh, 1 sec. I think we got Dad. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to tell Matt, if anybody wants to fly forever, just go watch you fly, and then it just makes me want to fly forever and ever and ever. And someday I might even turn an airplane up little bit on its size.
What was that?
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'm really happy to watch you fly.
Oh, there it is.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And have you guys seen that video of the DC-4 in South Africa that's doing the aerobatics? That's pretty incredible.
Oh my! Yeah. Okay. What do you think about that? Like, you could see what did he do? He didn't do a full loop, eh? What did he do?
He basically did half a barrel roll and then undid it instead of going all the way around, and did some really steep wing overs. It looked like he was having an awful lot of fun with it.
Oh,
So
and shutting engines
that,
down. And...
yeah. So that was pretty neat to see. So when you guys get bored up there and it warms up a little bit, I can send you the particulars on the smoke system for all 4 of those engines, and y'all have fun.
Well, we actually have a DC-4 that's in Florida right now with spray booms on it, so maybe we can do some bug spraying, and yeah, there we go, and do some loops.
There you go.
So one more technical question that's been bugging me is why is this Kansas and Arkansas? Do you know what the difference?
Well, basically it's Arkansas, as in belongs to me and my fellow Arkansans, I'm assuming. And I don't know, I would say somebody down here got ornery and decided that we were going to call it Arkansas, and the name stuck. I don't know what else to tell you, Oh, yeah. But contrary to popular belief, we wear shoes and we don't date our relatives.
Jeez.
So
Arkansas
is a wonderful place to live.
Geez, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's a C-46 and an Electra doing a run-up right outside. So,
oh wow!
So I just want to say thank you to Cockpit Creations for sending a super chat. And Cockpit Creations make excellent stickers of all the different stuff. They got some stickers coming out. Cockpit guys, maybe you can make a sticker for Matt Younkin's Twin Beech, or the Canadian version, Beech 18, and yeah, that'd be very good. Okay. So, Matt, I'll let you go. Thank you. 533 people watching, 352 likes, all the amazing comments.
Good deal.
So, thank you for coming in. One quick question I've seen actually pop in. Is there a G limit on the Beech 18 or the Twin Beech?
Per the factory, it's 3.8 positive and 1.12 negative. And we never exceed that. And I've been told that with the spar strap that's on our airplane and all of the other Beech 18s out there, that it can fly at least twice that. But I never approached the factory limit. So we take really good care of this airplane, and and on the ground and in the air. So
sounds good. Well,
there you have it.
We're all being safe. Everybody's at home. social distancing, flatten the curve so we can see you as soon as possible at the next nearest air show. So that is,
Yes, sir.
if there's any, is there any incentive to stay home and keep safe? Is this so we can see Matt perform as soon as possible? So that's one pretty good send off. So, well, I'm gonna shut
Well,
her
thank
down.
you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Matt, for joining us today. And yeah, I guess wash your hands, eh?
All right. Take care.